My name is Bob Bryant, and the purpose of this video is to explain that a West Morris Mendham High School teacher is teaching the bogus climate change theory at West Morris Mendham High School. I had received an invitation from Rutgers as an alumnus to attend a 4-session program in March of 2016 for a fee of $40. There would be 1 session a week for 4 weeks. I expected to hear professors from Rutgers expound on the theories on climate change. Instead, a high school teacher from West Morris Mendham, Bruce Tatarka, was the speaker. I would never have known we had a climate change advocate teaching our students this bogus theory had I not attended this meeting. But I do know he is teaching this leftist bogus theory. He had the audience draw the rise of carbon dioxide in the latter half of the 20th century, claiming that all this carbon dioxide was man-made. He failed to mention that 95% of all greenhouse gases was water vapor, a common oversight by most climate change advocates. He also failed to say that 97% of carbon dioxide was naturally produced. He blamed man-made carbon dioxide for all of the rise in carbon dioxide and the supposed rise in temperature. He was annoyed when I questioned this theory. At the next meeting, the moderator was a woman who was from Montclair State. She had a chart that showed it was cold in the 1930s and hotter now than it has been in the last 100 years. I said that it was very hot in the 1930s, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's chart, which recorded the actual temperatures. I asked why the distinguished professors from Princeton were not invited. The moderator said a blanket invitation had been circulated. He then told me I was not welcome. Tatarka and the moderator became incensed. Tatarka said I was being ridiculous and didn't know what I was talking about. I was told I would be barred from the remaining 2 meetings. The next morning, I received this email refunding my money. This is a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration chart showing the actual temperatures in the 20th century. As you can see, the 30s were extremely hot, contrary to what they told me down at Duke Farm. And you can also see the carbon dioxide depicted in the dotted line is going up, but there's no corresponding rise in temperatures, as they said. Bruce Tatarka is a science teacher at West Morris Mendham High School, and he discussed the results of his study of climate change and the effects of global climate change based on his 3-week trip to Alaska. And this was funded by the National Science Foundation, which is a taxpayer-funded foundation. I don't know the extent of his travels or how many years he's been making these trips at our expense. He took a helicopter ride and has many professionally produced videos. Here is Tatarka explaining how he teaches climate change in the high school classroom.
Question is, are humans causing the climate change? Teaching climate change to 17 and 18-year-olds can be a challenge. So one of the things that's a big advantage for me is I bring a lot of credibility to the subject. I've done my homework and I've worked really hard to educate myself on the subject. So I try not to present conclusions. I present them with the best evidence I know that's out there, and I try to let them draw their own conclusions from the evidence. So the activity that we just did at the Kettle Pond is based on the work I did at the Tulip Field Station last summer. One of my responsibilities as a Polar Trek teacher was to take the pretty complex science that my researchers were working on and adapt it to lessons for the high school classroom.
My name is Bruce Tatarka. I teach AP Environmental Science, IB Environmental Systems and Societies, and I also teach a course called Theory of Knowledge, which is part of the IB curriculum, and that's at Mendham High School in Mendham, New Jersey. Mostly 11th and 12th graders. I went to the Tulip Field Station on the north slope of Alaska, And I was working with researchers from the University of Michigan, George Kling and Rose Corey, and we were trying to study what's happening to carbon in permafrost on the tundra as that permafrost is thawing because of climate change.
Here we have another teacher, this one from Mount Olive, Gina Heineman, and I happened to come across this by reading the local newspaper. And this is some quotes. I won't identify the student, but the paper said, the student said, we're the first generation to truly feel the effects happening, and we have the responsibility to step up and take responsibility. Gina Heineman said, I think this student is going to change the world. A massive annual art project making foot-long ribbons listing things they were afraid to lose as a result of climate change. This is creating fear in our very young students. This is funded by Greenpeace. How many more teachers are teaching fear in our schools? If they're not radical teachers, they're still teaching a radical theory. Mount Olive's students' ribbons were hung on this tree or one of two others. In December 2015, climate change conference in Paris, how many Americans were treated to a Paris vacation at the expense of the U.S. taxpayers? Sustainability at the town level is a climate change initiative. Buried in the statement on the sustainability program, among all the good things the program will do, is the statement that the use of fossil fuels should be discouraged. This will destroy America. Our country is dependent on an abundance of cheap energy. This is straight out of Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals. Hillary Clinton knew Saul Alinsky and is his acolyte. He radicalized her. Obama did not know Alinsky, but he is also an acolyte. That is the end of this. Thank you for watching this, and I hope everyone will join with me to fight against this false climate change theory being taught in our high schools and middle schools. We have no idea how many more teachers are out there teaching this stuff.